Warm smile from my mom. We're just about to eat. Come on in. Inside, the table was already set. My chair pulled out, a glass of cranberry juice waiting for me. Lily was already seated, tapping at her phone, offering me the briefest glance before returning to her screen. My dad stood when I entered, half raising his arms like he wasn't sure if we were hugging or nodding. We nodded. Everything looked ordinary. Too ordinary. My mom gestured at the glass. Still your favorite, right? And, just like that, the room froze around me. The juice, the chair, the smile. Everything was set. Too set. I smiled, took my seat, and gave the most convincing nod of my life. Yeah, I said. Still my favorite. But I didn't take a sip. Not yet. The couch was still the same. Same old fabric, same dent in the right cushion, same throw blanket my mother had knitted years ago. I laid down slowly, feigning grogginess, letting my eyelids flutter like I was losing the fight to stay awake. My head rested against the armrest. My breathing slowed. My heart didn't. It thundered in my chest, but on the outside, I stayed still. The last thing I saw before I closed my eyes was Lily, glancing at my phone on the coffee table. Then she looked at my parents. A silent cue passed between them like this. Was choreography they'd rehearsed. I let myself sink into the cushions, blanketed and limp. Then it began, whispers, soft shuffling. Is she asleep? My mom's voice asked, barely audible. Yeah, Lily replied. She's out. I heard the faint squeak of the floorboard as someone approached. Then came the first breach. The rustle of my phone being picked up. The screen lit up through my eyelids. Then contact. Fingers on my hand. My thumb gently lifted, held, pressed against the sensor. Click. Vibration unlocked. I wanted to scream, to twist away, to shove them back, but I didn't. I had to know. There was no panic in their voices, no hesitation, just eerie efficiency. We're in, Lily whispered. More tapping. Banking app, my dad murmured. Routing number, check. Saved passwords. She has everything autofilled, my mom added almost proudly. There was something surgical about it. Clean, precise, like this wasn't the first time they'd done something like this. Maybe not to me, but to someone. Or maybe it was just that easy to betray someone when you'd convinced yourself they owed you. Then came the pause. It's asking for a code, Lily said. What code? My dad hissed. Two-step verification, she muttered. She changed it. A frustrated sigh. Try another app. Same thing. Everything's locked. More silence. For a moment, the only sound was the ceiling fan above us, spinning steadily like a heartbeat. Then my mom's voice again. Just put the phone back. I felt it placed gently near my side, like they were tucking me in. They sat down again. A chair creaked. Someone coughed lightly. I waited 10 seconds. Then 20, then 30, then I opened my eyes. I sat up, blinking as if dazed. Sorry, I mumbled. I think I blacked out for a second. 3 sets of eyes turned to me, each one playing a different role. Concerned. Casual, curious. You sure you're okay? My dad asked. Yeah, I said, rubbing my temples. Maybe just tired. I think I'll head home. Of course, my mom said. Do you want some leftovers? I shook my head. No, I just need rest. No one protested. No one apologized, because in their eyes nothing had happened. Or rather, they believed nothing had gone wrong. But something had, something irreparable. They thought they'd pulled it off. They thought I drank the juice. They thought I slept through it. They thought I was still playing my part. But they didn't know I'd left the fingerprint access in place on purpose. That I wanted them to try. That the whole time my phone was recording everything silently, invisibly running in the background. Every whisper, every tap, every betrayal, and tomorrow I'd take it all to the police. I sat on the edge of the couch, pretending to steady myself, while inside I was unraveling, not from fear. Not even from heartbreak, just the sheer weight of finality. Something had snapped, not with noise, but in silence. The kind of snap you only feel in your chest. I stood slowly, brushing imaginary dust from my jeans, my phone resting cool in my palm. I didn't clutch it. I held it loosely, like it didn't matter, like I didn't know they just tried to rob me. "Thanks for dinner," I said softly. My mom smiled like nothing had happened. My dad nodded, rising from his chair with the posture of a man who'd done a good deed. Lily stayed seated, flicking her hair behind one shoulder, her face a porcelain mask of indifference. I moved toward the door. "Let us know when you get home safe," my mom said. I paused for a half second, then I nodded. "Sure." The hallway lights cast a gentle glow, the familiar scent of furniture polish, and my dad's cologne hung in the air. I took in every detail like I was walking through a museum exhibit. Here lies the Simmons family, a curated display of warmth and deception. At the door, we hugged, all three of them. Reflexive, robotic, empty, and still it hurt. It hurt because it used to mean something. As my mom's arms wrapped lightly around my shoulders, I caught the faintest tremble in her fingers. A warning or regret? I couldn't tell. I hugged her back, then Lily, then my dad. No one said, "I love you." Not that I would have believed it. I stepped outside, the night air cool against my skin. I walked to my car, slid into the driver's seat, locked the doors, and just sat there still. Listening, breathing, letting the adrenaline ebb. Then I opened the voice recorder app. The timestamp, 47 minutes and 12 seconds. Every whisper, every stolen password attempt, every touch of my hand. Twist 1, they thought they were in control. Twist 2, I'd been in control the entire time. I didn't just lock down my banking app. I installed a layered authentication system days before. One that required facial ID and a rotating code from an offline device. Something even I couldn't override without effort. When the app prompted them for the code, that wasn't a glitch. That was the final gate. The one they couldn't pass. And that small argument I overheard, that was their frustration. Boiling just under their breath. "She changed everything," Lily had muttered. "Well, what now?" my dad had asked. "We try again," my mom had whispered. But there would be no again because I had the proof. And I was done pretending. I played back a snippet of the recording just to make sure it had captured clearly it had. She always blacks out after a drink. We just needed her to sleep through it. She won't even know. They didn't know I worked in security infrastructure. They didn't know I'd spent the last few years building systems to prevent exactly the kind of breach they attempted. And they didn't know I'd stopped seeing them as family. The second they treated me like a vault to be cracked. I started the car. The headlights sliced through the driveway shadows. As I pulled away, no one came to the window. No one waved goodbye. They probably thought they'd gotten away with something. Or maybe deep down they knew. Maybe they'd felt it too. That cold, irreversible shift in the air. That was the last time I ever stepped inside that house. And though I said nothing as I left, I was already rewriting the end of our story. The part where I stop being their daughter and start being the one who tells the truth. I didn't rush. I didn't storm into the police station with fire in my eyes or tears down my face. I parked across the street, double-checked the audio file on my phone, and walked in like I was going to pay a parking ticket. The waiting room was quiet. One guy in a hoodie arguing softly about a towed car. Another scrolling phone. No drama. No tension. Just ordinary people handling ordinary problems. But mine wasn't ordinary. When it was my turn, I stepped up to the glass partition. The officer behind the desk looked up with a tired smile. "How can I help you today?" "I need to report a crime," I said. She tilted her head. "What kind of crime?" "Financial fraud. Attempted drugging, unauthorized. Biometric access." That got her attention. "Do you know the people who did this?" "Yes," I replied. "My family." She blinked, didn't say a word, just opened the door beside her and waved me through. They put me in a small neutral room. One table, 2 chairs, a fake plant in the corner that hadn't fooled anyone in years. I sat down, my phone on the table, screen dark. The officer who Join me was middle-aged, steady-eyed, not the kind you could rattle easily. He introduced himself as Detective Harris and asked me to walk him through everything start to finish. I did. No dramatics, no tears, just facts. I told him about the text from Tyler, the cranberry juice, the fake nap, the way my family had worked together like a well-oiled machine trying to break into my accounts. Then I handed him the phone. It's all there, I said. 47 minutes clean audio. He plugged in a set of headphones and hit play. For the next half hour, I sat in silence as he listened. Occasionally, he paused, rewound, played something back again. At one point, he closed his eyes like he was trying to absorb not just the words, but the weight behind them. When it ended, he didn't speak for a while. Then, he leaned back in his chair, crossed his arms, and said, "This isn't just bad behavior. This is organized financial manipulation." They coordinated roles. They discussed security systems. This wasn't a one-time lapse. This was premeditated. I nodded. He continued more to himself than to me. Using your fingerprint, accessing apps, attempting to transfer funds. This qualifies as conspiracy and biometric misuse. We're talking multiple counts here. I said nothing. Not because I didn't want to speak, but because I didn't need to. The recording had done that for me. "You're calm," he finally said, eyeing me. "Most people wouldn't be." "I stopped being their daughter a long time ago," I answered. "I just didn't know it until now." He nodded. Slowly. Then he asked for a copy of the file, any screenshots I had of the initial text from Tyler and the logs from my banking app. I handed them over. Without hesitation. "We'll need a formal statement. Might take a few hours." "That's fine," I said. "I've waited years for this." And I meant it. I wasn't angry. Not in the yelling table, flipping kind of way, but something deep inside me had hardened. A quiet kind of fury. Cold, focused, the kind that doesn't burn, it freezes. Just when I thought I'd handed in everything I had, my phone buzzed on the table. It was a message from Tyler. "Call me. I have something else." Detective Harris glanced at it. "Tyler's the one who warned you, right?" "Yeah, my sister's ex." He gave a small nod. "Call him. Put it on speaker." I did. Tyler picked up after one ring. "You're at the station?" he asked. "Yeah. Just finished giving them the recording." "Okay, listen. I didn't mention this before because I wasn't sure how deep this was going to go, but I have something else. Another recording." My eyes met Detective Harris's. He leaned forward. "From when?" I asked. "The day before dinner, I stopped by the house to drop off Lily's stuff. I had my audio running, part of a project I was working on. Forgot to turn it off, but it picked up everything. Everything. They were planning it. Elena, like, step by step. Your mom, your dad, Lily, they were talking about what to put in the juice, how to unlock your phone, how to split the money without drawing suspicion. I didn't realize what I had until after I heard what you told me." I turned the phone toward Harris. "You heard all that?" "Yeah," Tyler said. "You want me to send the file?" "Yes, please," the detective said, his tone clipped now sharper. 10 minutes later, the audio file landed in the department's inbox. Harris plugged in his headset again. I watched as his expression shifted from curious to stunned to furious. At one point, he ripped off the headset and just stared at the wall. "They weren't desperate," he finally said. "They were deliberate." "That's premeditation. Clear as day." He replayed the part where Lily's voice casually joked, "She won't see it coming. Just smile and pour the juice." Followed by my mom's laughter, then my dad's voice, adding, "We only need enough to knock her out. We'll return what we don't use. She won't even notice." I clenched my fists under the table. Not out of shock, but validation. Because finally, it wasn't just my word against theirs. It was them in their own voices laying out the crime like a team. Prepping a corporate merger. "This changes things," Harris muttered. "This is no longer a single attempted fraud. This is organized financial conspiracy within a family unit. He opened his laptop, pulling up a screen of legal codes. His fingers flew across the keyboard as he began logging the evidence. Let's compare something, he said suddenly. You mentioned they tried to access your banking app. Yeah. I handed him the access log from my mobile banking platform. It showed 2 attempts to log in via fingerprint that failed due to secondary authentication. Both timestamped. All right, let's match this to the recording. He dragged a slider on the audio timeline, syncing it with the timestamps on my logs. The moment my dad said wherein lined up exactly with the first login attempt, then a pause. Then Lily's voice. It's asking for a code at the exact time of the second failed login. Perfect sync. This is irrefutable, Harris said, leaning back. Direct evidence tied to intent, action. I hadn't seen my family in months when the invitation came. Just dinner, just us. So why did it feel like a warning? The cranberry juice was already poured. The chair already pulled out. Everyone smiled like they meant it. And then my phone buzzed. A message from a number I hadn't saved. Get up and leave. Don't drink anything. I glanced at my mom. She was watching me. I smiled back, but I didn't drink because that night in the house I grew up in, my family tried to rob me. It had been exactly 128 days since I last heard my mother's voice. That was the last time she called. No. How are you? No catching up. Just a sharp, clipped question. Are you seriously not helping your sister? I said no. She hung up. So, when a group text arrived, cheerful and breezy, dinner this Friday, just us. Hope you'll come. I stared at it for a long time, unsure whether to laugh or block the number. Instead, I typed, sure. Why? Because some part of me, the part that still flinched at disapproval, wanted to believe they missed me, that maybe this dinner was an olive branch, not bait. By Friday night, I was parked outside the house I used to call home, palms sweating against the wheel. The porch light was on. The lawn was neatly trimmed. It was almost like nothing had changed. Almost. I knocked once before pushing the door open. Elenina. My mother's voice rang out from the kitchen, lilting and smooth, like butter over a knife. We're just about to eat. Come in. The warmth in her tone was artificial, too bright, too polished, like someone overacting in a high school play. My father stood as I entered the dining room, a little slow, like he wasn't sure whether to hug or nod. We nodded. His smile was tight, practiced. My sister Lily didn't even look up. She sat at the table, scrolling through her phone with the same detached indifference she'd perfected since we were kids. The table was perfect. Too perfect for place settings. My glass already filled with cranberry juice of protecting myself, like their betrayal was forgivable, but my boundaries were the true crime. I got up, poured the rest of my coffee down the sink, and took a long shower. Let the water run hot and furious until my skin prickled. When I stepped out, there were more missed calls. 3 new numbers I didn't recognize. A string of blocked messages, waiting like landmines. I didn't open any of them. That afternoon, I changed my number again. I went to the bank, froze my accounts, changed every password, enrolled in identity monitoring. Not because I was scared, but because I wasn't stupid. People who steal from strangers are dangerous, but people who steal from those who love them, they're lethal. Lily called from a different number the next day. I let it go to voicemail again. I was desperate, she cried. I didn't know what else to do. They said it was the only way. I didn't even want to do it. Another pause, then something softer. Please don't do this to us. I made one mistake. But that was the lie, wasn't it? It wasn't one mistake. It was a pattern. A lifetime of taking without asking, of turning love into obligation, of rewriting guilt as loyalty. And now that I had finally said no, they were treating it like betrayal, like my refusal to be used meant I was the problem. That night, I stood in my kitchen, staring out the window at the city lights. Everything looked the same. Normal, alive. But inside, I felt hollow, not broken, not even sad, just empty in a way I hadn't expected. Because the hardest part wasn't what they'd done. It was accepting that they never saw me as a person worth protecting, only a resource worth exploiting. That was the true aftershock. Not their rage, not their calls, but the cold, echoing truth that this wasn't the first time they'd failed me. It was just the first time I'd caught them red-handed. I stared at my phone. The screen blurred with the most recent message. I read it once, twice, and still felt my chest tighten. We didn't mean to hurt you. You're tearing us apart. Funny. That's exactly what they'd done. I opened a blank new SMS and typed 4 words. This wasn't a mistake. It was a plan. I hit send. No response came. That was enough. They'd had all the chances in the world to correct course, to apologize, to explain. Instead, they played it out. Like a perfectly scripted drama. One where they held all the lines and I just followed. I blocked them. Mom first, Dad second, and finally Lily. All communications severed. Emergency bypasses disabled. Numbers erased. Then came email. I logged into my Gmail and locked the account. Changed recovery information. Switched to a new address that would go only to trusted friends and not to anyone from their contacts. I notified my workplace HR to expect a new legal name on file. Nothing dramatic. Just precaution. To avoid leaked contact info. Next, I froze my credit. 3 bureaus. 3 forms, 3 different confirmation emails. It felt cold but clear. I wasn't punishing them. I was protecting myself because people who steal from strangers might be dangerous. But people who steal from anyone they claim to love, they're lethal. I spent the rest of the evening reorganizing my apartment, hung up lights, replaced old pictures with new ones, framed shots of the city skyline, my cat sleeping in a sunbeam. I let go of old things they'd given me, sentimental items they considered emotional keys into my life. A necklace marked Roth, a family cookbook with my name engraved. I dropped them into a donation box, religiously, ruthlessly, with no backward glance. That night, I slept without alarms. The next morning, I checked my phone again. No missed calls, no voicemails, just notifications from the credit-free service saying, everything's secured. I poured a cup of coffee and glanced at the wall clock. 9 hours had passed since I sent that one message. 600 minutes. Enough time to sever years of tethered loyalty. Twist 3. Within those days, I got the notification from the police department, a case number assigned, a brief summary, charges filed, attempted financial fraud, conspiracy, biometric abuse, defendants, Susan Roth, Daniel Roth, Lily Roth. I opened the PDF with shaking hands, expecting the worst, full criminal indictments, warrants, and bail. Instead, the file showed a plea agreement, probation, community service, and a no-contact order, no prison time. They avoided the full weight of prison through a negotiated settlement. A collective sigh seemed to pass through my body, but the real blow wasn't there. Punishment. It was that it wasn't enough. In that legal sentence, I saw the same pattern repeating. They got to keep their freedom while still controlling the narrative. They walked. They avoided jail. They avoided consequences too severe for them to bear. Yet, they paid in other currency. Loss of access, of identity, of history. I wasn't the one who lost. They did. My peace wasn't tied to their punishment. It was tied to my boundaries. I called a close friend, my real family, later that afternoon. They skated, I said, but it doesn't matter anymore. He didn't press. He just said, you did what you had to do. And I believed him. The following days blurred into normality. Work, groceries, sleep, no heaviness, no second guessing. Every now and then, I'd think, am I missing them? Not as people. Just as the idea of what I thought a family should be. But then I'd remind myself that idea never existed for me. I was a placeholder, a line item, a bank account. And now I'm set free. I Walk down the street alone and still feel full of air, full of choice, full of quiet justice. That was the real verdict. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I had just left work early to avoid traffic. Stopped by a small grocery store I didn't usually shop at. The kind of place that played old soft rock overhead with handwritten sale signs and dented fruit bins. Familiar enough to feel ordinary, unfamiliar enough to offer anonymity. I moved slowly, scanning the aisles. My cart held nothing but some pasta, a head of garlic, and a bottle of red wine I'd probably let sit unopened for a week. I wasn't in a rush, just letting the day pass. Then I turned a corner and stopped. She was standing in the paper goods aisle, stocking a shelf of napkins. Lily, same face, same build, but different posture. Gone was the confident, aloof girl who used to scroll through her phone during dinner, never once asking how my day had been. Gone, with the manicured nails and the glint of ambition in her eyes. In their place was a tired uniform, blue polo name tag, slightly askew carry vest with a company logo. Her hair was tied back in a messy bun. Her eyes were slightly puffy. No mascara, no performance. She didn't see me at first. Or maybe she did, but pretended not to. I couldn't tell. I didn't move. For a moment, I just stared at her as if she were behind glass, like something from another life. Someone I used to know but never really understood. She adjusted a stack of paper towels, reached up to smooth out a crooked row, then turned slightly. Our eyes met. It wasn't dramatic. No tears. No flinching, just a pause, a flicker of recognition, a quiet inhale. Then she looked away. Not quickly, just deliberately, like she had made a choice, like she didn't want to be the first one to speak or the last. I didn't say anything either. Not because I was angry, not even because I wanted to make her feel small, but because there was truly nothing left to say. We weren't sisters anymore. Maybe we never had been. Not really. We were just two strangers in a grocery store aisle, frozen for a moment in quiet remembrance of everything we had burned. I turned my cart around and walked away. Each step felt lighter. Not triumphant, not victorious, just released. By the time I reached the checkout, the soft music overhead had shifted to something by Elton John. I'm still standing, I think. It was. I almost laughed. The cashier asked how my day was. I said, pretty good, thanks. And meant it. That night, I made pasta. A simple dish, garlic, olive oil, red pepper flakes. I ate it alone in my apartment, the windows open to the city air. The wine glass sat full beside my plate, untouched. I didn't need it. I had peace now. Not because justice had been served in some grand courtroom sense, but because I had faced the fire, walked through it, and kept walking. And now I lived in the after betrayal, after truth, after silence. And even though it still hurt sometimes, it didn't hurt the same. It didn't hurt with guilt or longing or confusion. It just existed like a healed scar. Still visible, but no longer raw. Some people are meant to walk with you through life. Others are meant to teach you how to walk away. Lily had taught me that, whether she meant to or not. Back at my apartment, everything felt still. I kicked off my shoes, placed my keys in the ceramic bowl by the door, and hung my coat on the rack I had assembled myself last winter. The space was quiet, safe, mine. I walked into the kitchen. The shelves were lined with things I liked. No more compromising, no more family-sized containers that I never needed. Every item in the fridge was something I had chosen. Every mug in the cabinet, every pan on the rack was paid for with my name. Alone. There were 4 rolls of toilet paper stacked neatly in the closet. 4, not because anyone else used them, just because I liked knowing I had enough. I stood there for a long moment, staring at the most ordinary things. A jar of peanut butter, a half-squeezed lemon, the grocery receipt still tucked under a magnet on the fridge door. Everything simple, everything honest, nothing pretending I had built this life. Brick by brick, step by step, I had escaped them, or so I thought. My Phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. Area code local. I almost ignored it. Almost. But something in me answered, hello. There was a pause. Then a voice. Professional, clipped. Ms. Elena Morris. Yes, this is she. This is Officer Patterson with the Financial Crimes Division. We're following up on a detail you may not be aware of. Do you have a moment? My spine straightened. Yes. We were combing through old records related to your family's case. There's something unusual. A joint bank account opened in your name 8 years ago. Do you recall authorizing a loan from that account around that time? My mouth went dry. No, I said quietly. What kind of loan? A private education loan, $25,000. Used according to the record for tuition support. The thing is, Miss Morris, your name is listed as the primary account holder, but based on digital evidence, it seems you never accessed the account. Yourself. Not once. 8 years ago, I would have been 23, just out of college, just starting my job. I never signed for that, I whispered. We believe it may have been part of a broader pattern, the officer continued. We'll be flagging the account, but you should be prepared. This may not be the only one. I closed my eyes. 8 years. 8 years they'd been doing this. Not just recently. Not just when things got desperate. This wasn't a slip. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was a pattern, a system. I thanked him, hung up, and sank into the couch. I stared at my living room, at the couch I'd bought. On clearance, the rug I'd chosen for softness, the lamp in the corner that flickered just a little, but still made me feel warm. Then I exhaled, not with shock, not with anger, just with a long, aching release, because I finally saw it clearly now. This wasn't about one dinner, one plan, one betrayal. It had always been this way, always. And the worst part, I never even saw it. I had mistaken duty for love, sacrifice for care, silence for peace. And now I knew better. I looked around my apartment again. Everything here was real. Everything was mine. Everything was earned. And in that small, quiet room, I finally said it out loud. I was never loved. I was just used. Course. My chair slightly pulled out like I was expected. The roast chicken. Already carved. Steam rising from the mashed potatoes. I took my seat, heart thudding. Still like cranberry, right? Mom asked, her smile rehearsed. I nodded. I hadn't touched the stuff in years. Conversation flowed like syrup. Thick, sweet, hard to swallow. Still at the same apartment. How's work? Traffic's been awful lately. Huh? I smiled. I answered. I played the role I always played. Quiet, reliable. Agreeable. The one who didn't stir the pot. When Lily cracked a joke about a coworker getting stuck in a revolving door, I even laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I knew how to perform. It all felt wrong, like everyone had memorized their lines, like I'd walked into a staged reading of Functional Family and no one wanted to admit the show was fake. Halfway through my dad's mini rant about potholes, my phone buzzed in my lap. I glanced down. No name, no emojis. No signature, just 3 sentences punctuated like a warning shot. Get up. And leave. Don't drink anything. Don't say a word. For a second, the air in the room thickened. My mother nodded along to my father's grumbling. My sister scrolled. The cranberry juice glistened in the light. I didn't move. A dozen explanations raced through my mind. A prank, a scam. A missile, a mistake. But none of them felt right. Somehow I knew. The message wasn't a trick. It was a lifeline. I slid my chair back slowly. Be right back, I said, my voice calm. Bathroom. No one questioned it. No one followed. Upstairs, the hallway creaked beneath my steps like it always had. I locked the bathroom door, sat on the edge of the tub, and stared at the message again. I felt the chill in my spine harden into certainty. They had planned something and I had walked into it willingly. I hovered over the number, thumb trembling. It didn't make sense. Tyler, of all people, he and Lily had been on again, off again so many times, I'd stopped counting. Last I heard, they'd finally split for good. He wasn't someone I ever expected to hear from again, especially not like this. Still, I hit call. One ring, two, then a low voice answered. "You're still there, Tyler?" "Elena, listen to me," he said, quick and breathless. "You need to get out now. Don't touch the juice. Just leave." "Why?" My voice cracked, despite my best effort. A pause then. "They're planning something." I heard them talking. "Your mom, your dad, Lily?" My blood chilled. "What exactly did you hear?" I whispered. "They're trying to access your phone. They know you use fingerprint unlock. They were going to drug you. Use your thumb while you're out. Transfer money." I didn't breathe for a full 3 seconds. "How do you know this?" "I was at their house last week." Lily left her laptop open. "I saw messages, notes. She was worried you changed your password. Your mom said they'd get around it. That they just needed you calm. Drugged. Out cold." I could hear the shiver in his voice. He wasn't acting. "Why are you telling me?" I asked. Another long pause. "Because I didn't sign up for this," he muttered. "And because what they're doing, it's not just wrong, it's criminal." I stared at the faucet. The silver tap, warped from years of use. My reflection blinked back at me, distorted and scared. "What do I do?" "Don't drink anything. Don't eat anything else. Leave as soon as you can. Don't confront them. Just walk out. They'll follow up," I said. "Then don't go home. Go somewhere safe, but get out of that house." I nodded even though he couldn't see me. "Thanks," I said, ending the call. For a long minute, I sat motionless on the edge of the tub. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I just recalibrated. They were going to drug me. My own family. The same people who once packed my lunch and taught me how to ride a bike. Now they wanted my fingerprint and financial data. Not love, not connection. Access. Something inside me hardened. I opened my phone, launched my bank app, and disabled biometric login. I added two-step verification with a secondary app. Not SMS. Too easy to clone. Not email. Too easy to guess. Something they'd never expect. Then I opened a second app, one I used for work, and activated background audio recording. No blinking light, no red dot, just a discrete log, saving everything. It was insurance. And finally, I returned to the mirror. "You need to sell it." I turned on the faucet, splashed water on my face, rubbed at my eyes until they were slightly red, then took a few deep, shaky breaths. Part performance, part reality. Downstairs, I could hear forks clinking. Someone laughed too loud. I unlocked the door and walked down slowly. When I reached the bottom step, my mother looked up with practiced concern. "You okay, sweetie?" I nodded. "Yeah, just a little off, maybe tired." I sat down, picked up my glass of cranberry juice, and tilted it slightly. "Still tastes like I remember," I said. I smiled, but I didn't drink a drop. I used to think love meant sacrifice. Maybe that's what they taught me without meaning to. Or maybe they meant it exactly. When I was 6 and Lily was 3, she screamed in the middle of the night for a glass of water. I was the one who got out of bed to get it. Not because I was asked, because my parents didn't wake up. Or maybe they did and didn't care. Either way, it became routine. She screamed. I answered. Later, when we both started getting weekly allowance, $5 each, I saved mine. I liked watching it stack up in my ceramic bunny bank. I didn't know what I'd buy with it, only that it felt good to own something. Lily would spend hers on candy, slime, glitter pens. By Wednesday, she'd have nothing left but sticky fingers and empty wrappers. Then she'd come to me pouty and persuasive. "You have extra. I just need a little." I'd hesitate. That's when the adults would step in. "Come on, Elena. She's younger. Be a good big sister." So I handed over the dollars quietly. Always. It wasn't a rule. It was a pattern. And patterns turn into expectations. By Middle school, it had evolved. If Lily forgot her lunch, I shared mine. If she failed a quiz, I helped her study. If she lost something, her jacket, her phone, her earbuds, I gave her mine. My parents never made a big deal out of my report cards, even when I brought home straight A's. They didn't come to school, plays, or science fairs. But if Lily got a participation ribbon, there were balloons, photos, dinner out. I told myself it was just birth order. The younger one needed more. I was the mature one, the easy one. But it felt like being invisible. My biggest moments were barely acknowledged, and my smallest mistakes were magnified. One time I forgot to text that I'd gotten to school safely, and my mom grounded me for 2 weeks. Lily skipped curfew 3 times in a row and got a lecture over pancakes. I learned early that their love had a conversion rate. My silence, my patience, my obedience, traded for the illusion of care. It wore me down. By the time I was 16, I'd stopped sharing things. Not because I didn't care, but because I wanted to see if anyone would notice. They didn't. I got my driver's license and drove myself to the DMV. My mom remembered 2 weeks later. "Oh, right? Congrats. So proud of you." She never asked how the test went. When I got my first part-time job at a pharmacy, I was thrilled. Minimum wage, boring hours, but it was mine. I could buy my own jeans, my own coffee, my own birthday gifts. It felt like freedom. Until one afternoon, Lily called me crying. She'd overspent her allowance and needed a ride to the mall. She also kind of needed a new dress for a school dance. I bought it again. No one reimbursed me. No one thanked me. That was love. I thought unseen, unreciprocated, expected. Still, part of me believed that one day it would change. That they'd see me not as a resource, but as a daughter. That my reliability wasn't a flaw. It was value, that maybe one day they'd sit me down and say, "We see you. We're sorry." But they never did. And that this dinner wasn't a reconnection. It was a transaction. Even now, with a fake smile on my mother's face and cranberry juice glistening in the glass, I understood what was really on the table. Not food. Not forgiveness, me. I used to think that once I had money, everything would shift. That when I could finally help without struggling, they'd thank me. They'd notice. But all that happened was the asks got bigger. When I landed my first full-time job after college, a junior developer role with a modest salary and health insurance, I was proud. The kind of proud that makes you call your mom first, even when things are still awkward. "That's wonderful, sweetheart," she said. Then after a beat, "Do you think you could help with Lily's enrollment deposit? Just this once." Just this once, I paid it quietly. Then came the books, then the laptop, then a flight home for winter break because Lily missed her cat. None of these requests came from her directly. She always went through them like I was some corporate office and they were filing expense reports. "She's just stressed." My dad would say, "It's been a rough semester." And always, "You know how close sisters should be." Or worse, sisters are supposed to take care of each other. Every phrase wrapped in warmth, dipped in obligation. I wasn't a sibling anymore. I was a line item in their budget. And yet I paid again and again. Because a small flickering part of me still believed maybe this is how love gets built, piece by piece, dollar by dollar. I thought that eventually the balance would tip, that I'd buy my way back into their hearts. That they'd look at me and say, "You've always been there. Thank you." But gratitude never came. Instead, there were more expectations. When Lily studied abroad, they called me in the middle of a workday. "Her card isn't working. Can you wire her some cash?" Not "Can you do it?" Soft tone, hard command. Even my promotions didn't feel like milestones. The moment I shared news of a raise, my mom asked, "Do you think you could cover Lily's rent this semester? She's trying to focus on school." Not even a congratulations. I stopped sharing my wins after that. I learned to shrink good news down to nothing, to hide my pay-ups, to change the subject whenever money came up. And still I hoped Hoped that maybe one day they'd do something kind without asking for something in return. A birthday call, a handwritten card, a visit just to visit, not to borrow. One year I bought Lily a plane ticket home for her birthday. I even splurged on a seat upgrade. She sent me a text. Thanks. I guess that was it. No call, no hug, just those 3 words. That night, I cried quietly. The kind of crying you do when you realize no one's coming to check on you. Not because they don't hear, but because they've stopped listening. I started pulling back then. No announcement, no ultimatum. I just said no the next time they asked. Then the next. No to the car down payment. No to the new laptop. No to Lily's unpaid credit card bill. And when I finally said no to $12,000 money Lily claimed she needed to fix the situation, the call stopped altogether. They didn't ask what it was for. They didn't try to understand. They just vanished. For 3 weeks, I lived in silence. And it was the most peace I'd felt in years. Then, like clockwork, they returned. A forwarded meme from my dad. A blurry backyard photo from my mom. A TikTok from Lily with no caption. And finally, the dinner invite. Just us. Just dinner. Hope you'll come. They never said we miss you. They never said we're sorry. But I still came because some part of me, stupid, soft, loyal, wanted to believe that maybe this time it meant something. It started with a voicemail from my dad. Hey Elena, hope you're doing okay. We really need to talk. It's important. Call us back when you can. No details, no warmth, just that clipped tone he used when something was wrong. And somehow I was expected to fix it. Then my mom texted, can we count on you to help? It's for your sister. And then finally, a number $20,000. $20,000. They didn't say what it was for at first, just emphasized how serious the situation was. That Lily was in trouble. And they didn't know who else to turn to. I didn't respond. Not right away. I wanted to believe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe a tuition fee miscalculated. Maybe a medical emergency. Something justifiable. But I knew better. 3 hours later, my mom called again. It's gambling, she said. She got in over her head. That was it. No apologies, no shame, just expectation. She's your sister. She made a mistake. Don't you want to help her? No, not anymore. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't curse or accuse. I just listened. And then I said the clearest word I've ever spoken. No. A pause then. But you can afford it. Yes, I said. And I choose not to. That's when the tone changed. You've always been so cold, my mother hissed. So selfish. She's family. I didn't flinch because for the first time I understood something they never did. Being related doesn't mean I owe them access to everything I've earned. I ended the call and then I called Lily. She picked up on the second ring. Her voice was calm, almost casual. I guess you heard, she said. Yeah. I waited a beat. Was it one time? I asked. Or has this happened before? Silence. I knew that silence. I'd grown up inside it. The same silence I got when she forgot my birthday. The same silence when she took my phone charger and said nothing. The same silence when she wrecked my car and let our parents lie to me about it. Lily, I said again. Have you done this before? Still, she said nothing. But that was the answer. I can't do this anymore, I told her. I've been helping you since we were kids, and I never asked for anything back, but this is too far. Her voice cracked then just slightly. You don't understand. Maybe I don't, I replied. Or maybe I finally do. I hung up before she could say anything else. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just sat on my living room floor, hands flat on the carpet, and stared at the wall. It wasn't about the money. It never had been. It was about how quickly they turned me into a bank account. How love was a word they used only when they needed something. How no one ever asked what I needed in return. And when I finally said no, when I finally chose myself, they vanished. Again. Just like always, the fallout came fast. It started with a group text. My mom, my dad, and Lily, all in one thread they hadn't used in months. Mom, we raised you better than this. Dad, don't forget who paid your tuition when you needed help. Lily, you always acted like you were better than the rest of us. Then came the real punch. Mom, we give you everything and you turn your back on your own sister. It didn't sting the way I thought it would. I'd heard versions of this before. When I said no to smaller things, when I didn't drop everything at their request, but this time it carried something. Sharper, more final, cold, selfish, ungrateful traitor. They didn't say it all at once, but it built up like a storm cloud, one insult at a time. The phone calls stopped, the texts stopped, the digital guilt parade went quiet. At first it felt like silence. Then it felt like peace. I didn't have to check my phone every hour. No requests. No veiled threats wrapped in sugary guilt. I could breathe without bracing for the next hit. I went to work. I ate my meals in full. I slept through the night without replaying old conversations. For the first time in a long time, the quiet didn't feel like punishment. It felt like freedom. I told myself it was over. That this was the clean break I needed, that they'd finally realized I wasn't theirs to manipulate anymore. Weeks passed. I deleted the group chat, archived old voicemails, blocked their numbers, not out of malice, but necessity. Emotional triage. Then, on a random Tuesday evening, just as I was settling into a late dinner and an old episode of The West Wing, an email popped up. Subject line, dinner, sender. My dad. I didn't open it at first. I stared at it for nearly 5 full minutes. It sat there glowing faintly against the darkness of my inbox like a loose tooth I wasn't ready to wiggle. Eventually, I clicked. We're having a family dinner this weekend. Just us. Just a meal. Nothing more. We'd really love for you to come. Hope you'll think about it. No guilt, no accusations, just dinner. The message was signed off with my dad's full name. Not love dad, not your father, just Mark Simmons. Weird. But what was weirder was the fact that for the first time in weeks, they weren't asking for anything. No mentions of money, no follow-ups about Lily, no subtle, you owe us phrasing buried under sweet talk. Just a seat at the table. I forwarded the email to my work account, read it again the next morning, and again that afternoon. It didn't change. I even checked for invisible text, weird tracking links, anything suspicious. I worked in tech. These were the things I noticed, but it was clean. Still, something in my gut twisted. Why? Now? Why this? Why so calm? I wrestled with it for 3 full days. Talked myself into going, then out of it, then back again. By Saturday morning, I decided not to go. Then Saturday evening rolled around, and I found myself pulling into their driveway anyway. The porch light was on. The house looked the same. To the same. When I walked up the front steps, I half expected the door to creak ominously, like in a bad horror movie. Instead, it swung open with a and failure. We've got motive, coordination, attempted execution, and biometric abuse. And now a second recording confirming prior planning. He typed something into his system. A file number popped up. This is now an open investigation. You'll receive a formal case number and assigned detectives. Based on this, we're likely looking at multiple felony charges. I didn't exhale until I heard those words. Not because I was waiting for justice, but because I needed proof that I hadn't imagined the depth of the betrayal. It was real. It was all real. Harris looked up at me, his voice gentler now. You did everything right. And you did it alone. That's not easy. I didn't respond, just nodded once because there wasn't anything else to say. The story had already been written, but now, finally, it would be read out loud. The messages started the next morning. I hadn't even finished my coffee when the first one popped up. Mom, did you actually report us? Your own family? Then came another. Dad, you think the cops will fix this? You're destroying everything. You don't do this to your own people. I stared at the screen. My phone buzzed again. Lily. First a text. Please pick Up, then a voicemail. I pressed play. Her voice was trembling. Somewhere between panic and heartbreak. I didn't think you'd go this far. I know. We made a mistake, but you're making it worse. You always make things worse. We're family, Elena. You don't get to just walk away from that. Pause. A sharp inhale. Then a crack in her voice. It was one mistake, one night. You act like we tried to kill you. You're blowing it up. Just stop. I let the voicemail end in silence. Then I blocked her and Mom and Dad. Every contact, every thread, group chats, emergency. Bypasses everything. It was the cleanest decision I'd ever made. Still, the weight of their words lingered. Not because I believed them, but because they had said them so easily, so naturally, like I was the traitor for